Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to our Saturday weekly series. Today is our 16th session, and the topic is Return of Kashmiri Pandits. What needs to be done? As always, we begin our session with our prayer, and it's going to be by Kritika Balakrishnan, also known as Pooja. Kritika began her Carnatic vocal music training with Srimati Kasturi Shivakumar of Michigan and had her Carnatic vocal Arangetram in 2015. She is currently under the guidance of Sri Madurai R. Sundar of Troy, Michigan. Kritika works in Maryland at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. Good morning, Kritika, and welcome to you, and you can start.
ಬಡು ತಟಗಟ್ಟಿದ ಚೂಡಿ ತಾಡಿತ ತಾಲಿ ಪಲಾಶ ತಟಂಕ ವೀಣಾ ವಾದನ ವೇಲಕಂಪಿತ ಶಿರಸ ನಮಾಮಿ ಮಾತಂಗಿ వీణారవాణు శంగం విక్కచముఖాభోజమాతురీ బృందం కరుణాపోరతరంగం కలేమాతంగ కన్యకపాణం మాతంగ కన్యకపాణం మాతంగ
Thank you, Kritika. Nice seeing you, and hope to see you again soon. As we continue next year. We thank Sri Kanchi Mat for our ongoing initiative and offer our namaskarams to His Holiness Sri Shankarji Endra Saraswati Swamigal. With his blessings, we continue with our Kashmir Cultural Heritage Lectures. Today's session is by Dr. Surinder Kaul. Dr. Surinder Kaul is joining us from Houston, Texas, and is an internal medicine specialist there. He graduated with honors in 1987 from Government Medical College of Jammu and Kashmir. He completed his residency at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital, and having more than 30 years of diverse experiences, especially in internal medicine, Dr. Surinder affiliates with many hospitals and cooperates with many specialists in several medical groups, including Baylor College of Medicine. Sri Kanchi Mat has been in the forefront, modestly working with the sole aim of national integration, spiritual enlightenment, and spreading the uniqueness as Kashmir is our cultural heritage. We are very pleased to have Dr. Surinder Kaul, and we welcome him on a very early Saturday morning after Thanksgiving. Welcome to you, Doctor. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
Namaste, Shankarji.
Please take it over.
We are really indebted to Kanchi Mat and very fortunate to have the blessings of His Holiness in our spiritual journey. And by the way, I am from Houston, but right now I am in Vegas, and it's around 5:30 a.m. Here, and I want to wish good morning from to all the audience from Vegas. But anyhow, my vacation will be over tomorrow. I'll be back to base tomorrow. So thanks for giving this opportunity to me. And on behalf of Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora and the whole community of Kashmiri Pandits all over the globe, I would like to immensely thank Kanchimat, especially His Holiness, for your unwavering help and support in propagating about what happened in Kashmir. Thanks once again. Namaste.
Doctor, today's session, of course, is going to be your initial lecture. And towards conclusion, maybe we will have few questions. And I'm sure there will be some questions also to me posed by people I could see on the comment side. Would that be okay? We can get started with the lecture series like we do. You can
Absolutely.
you can continue, and normally we have a 1 hour session, and if you want to extend your session for 10-15 minutes, that's fine. And as always, we welcome our speakers to come and join us again. So you have more slots available in January if you wish.
Thanks, Shankarji. Yes, I think this format is absolutely fine.
Okay, so you can go ahead, Doctor.
So, what do you want me to cover? Any specifics in the introduction? I will go as per that.
Yes, as the title we jointly discussed, I was casually telling you about the return of Kashmiri Panditjis. Then suddenly you mentioned, why not that be the topic? So I was so delighted, and nobody has ever covered. So far, we had 15 sessions. We have actually laid the foundation for your talk today. We have covered Nilamata Purana, talked about Kashmiri temples. We also talked about safeguarding Kashmir, the importance of that. And as you know, the session was inaugurated by Dr. Nagaswamy, world renowned archaeologist, and also Madam Garyali, who is well known to us in the south as advisor to governor and advisor to chief ministers of Tamil Nadu twice. She gave a very nice presentation about the life in Kashmir and the Panditjis and the ceremonies they perform, which I thought paralleled many things that we do in the South. I don't know whether that's being continued or not, but it was very interesting opening. And later on, we also talked about Vedic traditions and literary heritage of Kashmir, and also Amarnath Mahakavyam. Not to forget Kalhana's Rajatarangini, which we had 2 or 3 different sessions. So our viewers are quite familiar. Now they have great background. And so actually from your lecture onwards, we are moving to the next step. That is what is happening currently. We possibly covered 500, 600 years of history. And now we are into 2021, and we have been watching everything what's going on ever since 370 was abrogated. And the current status also we read every day. And the main objective of this is to create some awareness. So that's why you put on the leaf on your flyer, Kashmir map is also there. So
Yeah.
Kashmir all along is known to us as a landscape and beautiful, what we see during the Dal Lake and other places. After I visited Kashmir sometime in 2012, I realized that it resembles a little bit of Kanchivaram, the temples and the landscapes. But unfortunately, all the temples are in ruins. We actually went with a Sapati also, thinking that we could undertake some reconstruction of these temples, but you know the status of them. So we are very eager to listen to your lecture on the game plan and what we are going to be doing. And I know government is helping us a lot and done more than enough, which is unthinkable like 10 years ago, and the status today. So we'd like to hear your views, and diaspora is very big all over the world. I've been in touch with quite a few in the United States, and it's the first time somebody from the US is joining us for
Yeah.
our lecture session. So that's
Right.
a small background, and you can take over.
Yes. So, for the benefit of the audience, let me walk through certain things. First of all, let me start about what is Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora. You know, the whole community has been living in exile for last 32 years. Now, about this community, that this community has always been the ambassadors of peace and progress. The community has immensely contributed towards not only India, but immensely contributed towards the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. The tenets of the community has been universal brotherhood, compassion, benevolence, caring and sharing, and the pursuit of knowledge. This is the community which has 100% literacy rate, never had any crimes involved. And since Kanshimat has undertaken the lecture series, and this is the 16th lecture in that series, I'm pretty sure that the speakers might have dealt with the historic perspective of Kashmir in last several centuries, as you mentioned. And my focus will be about the current situation and what has been happening in last 32 years and what has been the issues that led to ethnic cleansing and genocide of this peace-loving community and pushed into exile all over the globe. So, first, talking about rehabilitation, it's important about what happened in Kashmir so that we are able to dissect it so that once the rehabilitation process is started, there is no refoulement. We all need to understand that India is a robust democracy, is diverse, and all the sections of the community in India they thrive and grow because India has shown, the Indians have shown the path towards mutual coexistence. And the onus of coexistence definitely lies with the majority community, and that in the case of India, it is the majority community of Hindus that has given help and support to all the distressed communities, non-Hindu communities, whether it is Muslims, whether they are Parsis, whether they are Jains, Buddhists, so all shades. And Jammu and Kashmir, erstwhile state, was the only Muslim majority state where this coexistence was denied on the basis of faith. So the terrorism that started with orders to kill led to selective and targeted killings of this peace loving community in the most brutal forms. 32 years ago, and for the benefit of audience that we see what is happening in Syria, in Afghanistan, this thing happened in 1989 and 1990. It was very much scripted. I don't want to go into the nitty gritty who started, how we all know about it. But, you know, the thing was because of our faith, we, thousands of people were killed as a form of target killings. and the whole community became victims of genocide and ethnic cleansing. And in last 32 years, we have seen lots of ups and downs. And most of them was the downs for our community. And no government and no state government in the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir took cognizance of what happened with this beleaguered community in 1890s. It was the tragedy of epic proportion, which was put under the rug so that the robust democracy of India, so that the secularism of India doesn't get stained. So we also became sacrificial goats for the governments, successive governments, that we remained powerless, we remained voiceless, and nobody knew, even in India, what was happening and or what happened. So Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora undertook this mission of creating awareness about what happened and has been doing an outstanding job at global level. We have been highlighting this cause despite a lot of obstructions from the government. We at ourselves had taken ownership to outreach and make others aware about what happened. And our intention of doing so is not through the intention of propagating hate. As I said, that our tenets are of universal brotherhood. We mean well. We mean well towards all the sections of the community, all the religions of India, whether it is Islam, whether it is Christians, whether they are Sikhs, Buddhists, all sections. But history can always be bitter. History has to be shared so that corrective steps are taken accordingly. And that is the purpose of Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora. Again, this is not an organization, this is the civil society of Kashmiri Pandits all around the globe. And basically, its mission is to acknowledge our genocide and ethnic cleansing. So, this was the brief introduction about Kashmir, about Kashmiri Pandits. You know, frankly speaking, the Muslims in Kashmir um, have been very peaceful with ups and downs. We have been living together for centuries, but we do have our hurt sentiments. We do have hurt, we feel hurt that when such a thing was happening, our neighbors, our Muslim brethren, they remained muted. And basically, they closed their eyes, they just closed their ears. They were not seeing anything, what was happening with us. They were not listening to anything, they were not listening to our cries. But we have to see together, and this thing has not only stained the Kashmir, the spirituality of Kashmir, and it is the onus of the Kashmiris, and especially I say about the Muslims, that they have to stand up and they have to take the correct course, uh, uh, correct all the wrongs that has happened. Because if that doesn't happen, that will be a big stain on the land of spirituality, on the land of rishis, on the land of saints, because as we all know, that Kashmir is the cradle of Indic civilization. We don't love Kashmir just because it's beautiful. We don't love Kashmir just because it's a paradise on earth. We love Kashmir because we have 5,000 years of rich cultural and civilizational legacy there, and which has been the cradle and the fountainhead of our civilization. So let me stop here. And with this, Shankarji, if you have any specific questions, I will try to address them as they come from you.
Yes, Doctor. You touched upon few key points here. Um, I fully share with points you mentioned here. Number one, it's really fascinating to hear 100% literacy rate. That is my observation also. This is amazing. I don't think it exists, this 100% anywhere else in rest of India. This is very interesting. You talked about coexistence. Coexistence is possible in other parts of India. Our neighbors are Muslims here. And every time I visit Kashmir, I stay in a Muslim guest house. Very friendly, like you mentioned, very friendly, peace loving people. Actually, they are the ones who are taking me out the temples. They seem to know more about the temples, and that is really very interesting. I agree with you. Now, the scenario suddenly got changed. Now, more and more awareness is created. And after 370, India gets to know about what is going on. For example, like you mentioned, see all these exodus in Bosnia Herzegovina, we see in Syria, even very recently we could see that in Burma. But people never realize that it happened here in India. And part fellow Indians are refugees in our own country. That kind of terminology people never heard, and thanks to our awareness that we initiated, in August, we get to know. So this coexistence, that kind of a support that India is coming forward to support this cause of Kashmiri Pandits, is it creating problem? In the last several weeks, we've seen killings. It's all full in Twitter. Is it creating a problem? Suddenly, India started supporting Kashmiri Pandits. It never existed before 317. Nothing was known. Like you mentioned, it's a paradise. You visit the Dal Lake and see the landscapes, or go for skiing in Gulmarg, all those things. But now things have changed. Would that be a reason, or is enough being done on this?
See, we need to see that in last 70 years in Kashmir, it has been the victim of successive wrong decisions, wrong doings on the part of the government of India, which emboldened some section within the Kashmir who were very much radicalized and were not of the faith what India means of religious coexistence and diversity. So, especially from 1989, 1990, we saw that the growth of radicalization and terrorism bled the valley of Kashmir uh, on multiple sides. And uh, a section of the community of the radicalized elements, they took the whole writ of government hostage. So that was on that front, and that radicalization was growing. Then the political elites who were ruling the state of Jammu and Kashmir were playing this soft terrorism, soft radicalization. They were playing double standards. There was no accountability. There was no development. There was no, Jammu and Kashmir has been one of the states with high aid from government of India for last these 70 years, but with no accountability, with no governance, and with elite people running the show. The whole money that was pumped by government of India, most of them was becoming huge corrupt practices was taking place. Only 10% was spent where it needed to be spent, and 90% was selected this booty by the selected elite politicians. Now, what happens that once there became a nexus, this nexus of separatism and governance started becoming very cohesive. And you might have seen that the politicians were speaking the same language of the separatists, and they were speaking something else in Delhi, and they were speaking something else in Jammu, and they were speaking something else in Kashmir. With the result, it's increased the radicalized elements within the valley. And basically, that writ of the government they were losing again and again. And on top of that, there was a huge uh, friction between three divisions of erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, that is Jammu, Ladakh, and Kashmir, that people were not happy. They were seeing most of the money that was coming from government of India, 70% was spent in Kashmir, 10% was, 15% was spent in Jammu, and 10% was spent in Ladakh. So that created a huge discrimination. And over the period of years, the people were not happy. And Jammu was not happy with Kashmir, Ladakh was not happy with Kashmir, and then there was a hegemony. When you see that in 70 years, see the ministers, they were all from valley centric. This created a huge challenge for governance of the state, and as a result, we strongly welcome. And one of the pitfalls, one of the obstruction of all this thing was Article 370 and 35A. We indeed commend the government of India, especially Modi government and Amit Shah as a home minister, who had the guts to abrogate this Article 370 and 35A and bring that valley at par with the governance model of India, so that the people are benefited, whether they are Muslims, whether they are Sikhs, whether they are Hindus, whether they are Dogras, whether they are Buddhists, all sections are treated equally through the prism of governance, a fair governance, and the development. So that is really a historic decision. But as regards government is concerned, as regards us is concerned, we have not seen any plans from the current government also to rehabilitate, to re-establish that civilization that we have lost. And having said that, I should commend the government on some aspects of their initiatives. Like, for example, the Kashmiri Pandit community have lost around $16 billion in this display, in this ethnic cleansing. Our properties, our temples, our institutions have been encroached, vandalized. Uh, Everything has been looted. So the question is, once the government started the process of giving to be fair with us by asking us, please let us know what is the status of your land, what is the status of your house, and what happened with that. And when they saw that we are registering those things, because this is the first time that the government opened a portal for us to allow us to register that what happened, what did we lose, what is the status of that property, and what happened, that these sections of radicalized elements who got this booty now feel uncomfortable, and these people started again this whole process of trying to recreate 1990 by selective killings, by soft killings, sending the message that you are not welcome. So this is what exactly happened. And we this time we feel little satisfied that there are voices coming from Kashmir, from Muslims, about taking them head on. But this is just a small minuscule section who we see on the roads. But this is a positive change, and I wish that the people make it a movement and take these elements head on, so that we believe that the people there, the Muslims, stands true to their spirituality and their truthfulness. Otherwise, if they don't do that, definitely they will be seen as providing a soft support to these radicalized elements.
Yes, Doctor. I have few other points to discuss with you. Before that, I see one comment which is very important. I'm going to answer to that point also. Some I see one Srinivas KR. I hope he's watching. Sir, this falls outside spirituality. There are parties and politicians to deal with these matters. We revere His Holiness Shankaracharya as spiritual guru and God. Any mistake in my thinking, please highlight. No, this is spiritually connected, absolutely. Actually, the reason why Kanchimat took this initiative is we want to put Kashmir on the spiritual map, uh, rather pilgrim map. We don't know Kashmir would have been part of the pilgrimage that people undertake, like Rameshwaram, Varanasi, Kashmir got missed out. We don't know. How do we know? It's last 1,000 years. So many things happened. Maybe the pilgrimage is complete by including Kashmir. So we are concerned. We would like to visit on spiritual journey to Kashmir. That is what part of our members are doing. President of our Samajam that is undertaking this has been conducting visits to Kashmir almost last 10, 15 years during Shankara Jayanti, and we want to continue. But can we do that? So right now, this current scenario, so it is part of spirituality. So that is what we are not going to visit to Kashmir to go ski or go on a visit on Dal Lake. All this has been there, but spirituality, that is underlining factor for all this. So it's very important. Why? Yes, politicians are working on that, but we want to highlight. We people would have forgotten. Kashmir never existed in the pilgrim map. So, what are your thoughts, Doctor? I'm sure you must have heard from your ancestors and about ceremonies that you are. I could see a lot of similarities what we have been doing.
Right.
What do you think about that?
As I mentioned earlier, that in Kashmir has been the cradle, a fountainhead of Indic civilization, spiritually. We have Adi Shankaracharya in Srinagar. We have Amarnath Ji, and Kashmir has produced s- saints who have gone all over the world, including all parts of India. And I would like to reiterate that we do not love Kashmir because it's paradise on earth. We love Kashmir because our 5,000 years of civilization is there, and it is the fountainhead of Indic civilization. Now, I feel so happy and proud when Kashi Math got involved with this. And exactly this is the spiritual journey. The spiritual part uh, has we have to re-establish that spirituality, the legacy, that the rich legacy it has been. Now see the state of temples there, see the state of our dharmic institutions there, and we are very few in numbers, but we don't have a vote bank, and that is perhaps why we are not dealing it with us, because in Indian democracy those who are powerless and voiceless, nothing will happen, they will get vanished. But I should tell the government that, please don't undermine this community. I will reiterate, do not undermine this community. The strengths of these communities are huge. It's very huge. And even though we are less in numbers, but we have more power by ourselves, and any attempt to finish that power, to finish that voice, will boomerang. It will not work. And I'm very happy that more Indians and more people who believe in this civilized world from different countries are giving us all the help and support. I will give you one example. you know, Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora, with its mission of creating awareness at a large scale at the world stage, we have been trying to do that from time to time, but we have been trying to do it through Bollywood, because movies play a very, very important role in keeping that imprint of the historic things in one's mind. But most of the directors that we approached, they just shied away from us because they thought that it's a very sensitive matter. They will be dubbed as communal. So they never listened to us, and they just made movies about Kashmir, but they were all about romanticizing with the terrorism, soft separatism, glorifying terrorism in one way or the other. But through this channel, I would like to share with you that once we were in this campaign, and one Bollywood director, an award-winning director, a very popular director by name of Vivek Agnihotri ji, agreed to make a movie about not about us, but about what happened, the truth of Kashmir. And this thing project started 3 years ago, and during these 3 years, they did so much of research, and they reached out to the first-hand victims of genocide and ethnic cleansing and collected 700 testimonials in all parts of globe where these first-hand victims are residing. So they went, and their team went out to all parts of India, interacted with the community, and reached out to the first hand victims of genocide and ethnic cleansing. Similarly, the team of the Kashmir Files, along with Vivek Agnihotri ji and Pallavi Joshi ji, visited US, UK, and other continents, and to get the accurate story. And I should add here that the director went to every victim's home, whether it was in US, whether it was in Chicago, whether it was in Washington D.C. area, whether it was in Houston, whether it was, you name it. They went, they drove to their homes and recorded these testimonials to understand what happened, how it happened. And then basically they have converted that whole testimonials, all that information, into a very, very strong theme, and created a big storyline, and had a shooting. And I would like to report to you that that movie is now complete, by the name of the Kashmir Files, and 5 award-winning artists are participating, are acting in this movie. And this is not a, it's a feature film. It will be globally released on January 26, 2022. And it's a big movie, it's a star-studded movie. It has a very strong storyline, and I would request everyone that once it is released globally, to watch it. Get your friends, whosoever, your family, and that will be the truth. That will be the best awareness about what happened. And again, I would like to reiterate that this is not with the intent of any malice towards any person, but to reproduce the part of the history which has been purposefully kept under the rug, and to let the world know what happened, how it happened. And I would like to also share important news that even though the movie is being released globally on January 26, 2022, uh, as of now, as we are talking, this movie will be screened in 14, 15 cities in US. It will, these are all private screening. And starting from today, our first show in the theater will be in Long Island today. And this tomorrow's show will be in Edison, New Jersey. And these are all private screenings, meet and greet with the director, followed by Q&A. And in addition to these community screenings in theaters, there will be impact screening in almost many universities and many prestigious institutions all over US. So in total, we might be around 35, 40 screenings, very impactful. And this is perhaps for the first time that the world will get to know about what happened in Kashmir in the unbiased and unreported, which has been unreported. It will be showcased through this. And the movie director is here, the team of the Kashmir Files is here, and the Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora is hosting these private screenings all over the US, for your information. And
Oh,
the impact of these screenings are so hard that within 3 days, once we publicize about these private screenings, it is sold out. There is no vacancy. There is nothing. That is the level of interest, that is the level of curiosity, that is the level of the trust that we are getting. And we are immensely thankful to Indian diaspora who who are moving this whole screening process and awareness process with us. We have Telugu Samaj with us, we have Marathi Samaj with us, we have Gujarati Samaj with us, we have Sikh community with us, we have Christian community with us, we have Indian Jew community with us, we have Muslim community with us. And the way we believe the whole India, irrespective of their caste, creed, religion, language, boundaries, everybody is driving it because truth has a power. Truth has to stand up, and that is the moment of this truth. And everybody is pulling so that the truth unfolds about what happened.
Thank you, Doctor. I was going to ask you about Kashmir files, which is all over Twitter. I could see the trailer, and I was going to talk to you about that. Good that you explained, and it's going to be screened in 12 cities in the U.S. I think, starting
For
from
15 cities, 15
15
cities, in
cities.
addition to many universities and many high impactful institutions.
I've seen quite a few documentaries. I don't think they created any impact other than emotional feelings. I've seen one mother and son visiting all their allies and going to the old houses and thinking about their old days in Kashmir. But those are just 10 or 15-minute small documentaries. But this is going to be a full-fledged movie, I
Yes,
guess.
it's about a typical Bollywood movie, about 3 hours, 2 hours and 50 minutes. And I have not seen the movie. I have heard the reviews from my friends who have seen a very selected when it was showcased. It's going to make everybody numb. The world will cry. The world will see what happened, what it means. And powerless people, voiceless people, and people whose tenets are mutual love and affection. It is going to create a huge thing about humanity, and this is what it will showcase. I'm pretty sure. We believe that the world is a civilized society. If we leave these denominations of religions and all that thing, it's a civilized society. And basically, we as Kashmiri, I can speak about myself, about my community. You see that our people, as any and Indians, are doctors, scientists, they are IT professionals. They are immensely contributing towards the growth of the civilized world in the best form, you know, and they didn't deserve this. They didn't deserve it. We want that the world community should showcase, adopt this community, and give its example. That these days we are attributing causes that he became terrorist because his human rights were violated. We attribute causes for radicalization. Hey, because his father was arrested, his mother was arrested, or he was poor. But here is the community who became victims of genocide and ethnic cleansing, had all the criterias of becoming producing terrorists, but they never picked up gun. Instead, they use their anger, they use their frustration to contribute towards the civilized world and uplift mankind through their work. That is the power. That is the power. And uh, we will do everything in our command to make sure that it reaches out to the lawmakers all over the globe, and there will be some course correction on it.
I think you summed up very well using two words like coexistence and a peace-loving community. I think that says everything on what Kashmiri Pandit community would like to do, returning to Kashmir. Now, before I go into, I have a few other important questions. I would like to read one more comment from Dr. Jnanam from Kumbakonam. She's from a remote town, temple town like Srinagar in South India. She writes, I could sense the real feelings of Dr. Kaul. Every Indian should be treated with respect, care, and love by the government irrespective of caste, creed, race, and religion. I guess that's what we are preaching in the rest of India. So, coming back to the same point, what you mentioned, that is what I think the expectation is.
Absolutely. You know, uh, now coming back to this subject matter of today's discussion, that is, what is the next step for Kashmiri Pandits and how to do it? This is a fact that, successive governments in India have not treated this community well. And um, our expectations are that this community's roots gets re-established in Kashmir. Now, this minuscule community is spread all over India and perhaps all over the globe. And we all need to realize that for a community to survive, it is very important for them to have a connect with their roots, because it is with their roots that the kids, the children, the cultural aspect and the spiritual aspect will remain connected. So our biggest challenge is that we do not have our roots for last 32 years. My son, my daughter would like to go to Kashmir and connect with that. But unfortunately, that route has been snatched. So that puts this community at risk of uh, extinction. And if this community with such tenets become extinct in India, it will be a big shame. It will be a big shame for everyone, whether they are Kashmiri Muslims or Indians, or for Indian government as well. And if this community becomes extinct under their nose, that is going to be, I'm using a very hard name, that will be a shame. Now, the question is about what to be done. We need to look into the factors of Kashmir, what happened, why we became victims, and why we should avoid. There should be no refoulement that the same thing happens again. As you know, that this is not the first time the Kashmiri Pandit community have gotten displaced from their roots. This is perhaps the seventh displacement of the community in last 7 centuries. So every century we have met with an exodus. And we as Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora have been working very hard in creating a rehabilitation plan. And I must commend all the specialists of the community who are very big professionals in town planning, from prestigious universities, have created a comprehensive document about our return plan. And basically, it addresses the growth of Kashmir, our contribution, how we can contribute to the development of the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, how we can bring in more value and uplift the residents of the state of the UT of Jammu and Kashmir. Everything has been laid out very much professionally, and it's a very, very comprehensive document that uh, definitely lays the emphasis on our rehabilitation process. Now, as we see that it's important for us to remain together, to maintain our civilization. So, if we go to before 1990 era of our how we were staying in Kashmir, was that there were 4 or 5 families, and basically in a village or in a township, or 10, 15 families. and then it was all surrounded by all Muslims. So I mean to say that Muslims, and I'm just trying to use that word, and many of them were is radicalized. And over a period of 32 years, we have seen that the radicalization has significantly increased in Kashmir. So it is but natural that if the government pushes us in different areas, uh, first of all, it will not build that confidence. So what we are trying to tell the government that in order to preserve the this community, it's very important to build the confidence and let them stay together at one place. When I say that one place settlement, I don't say that it should be exclusively for Kashmiri Hindus. It should be open for all those who believe in the Indian Constitution, who believes in coexistence, whether they are Muslims, Sikhs, and create a smart city. I think the Honorable Prime Minister is creating smart cities everywhere, and there is a need of smart city in Kashmir, in one where all these people can be rehabilitated along with Muslims, Sikhs, and create a robust plan of industrialization, employment. You know, our strengths have been education. When Jammu and Kashmir will get benefited. So there are that we want the confidence of the community and re-establishment of our civilization there. It's very important that this ultra minuscule community are allowed to stay together. When I say together, that doesn't mean that in 10, 50 square kilometers, just everybody will be together, the Hindus only. No. Uh, India believes in diversity. It is multicultural, multi-religious. So basically, you know, without violating any constitution of India, pockets in Kashmir before 1990, there was a Habakadal area that was predominantly Hindu area, Ranawari area that was predominantly Hindu area. So within a radius of several such pockets where we can stay together and contribute immensely towards the development of the UT of Jammu and Kashmir. That will benefit every sections of the society, whether they are Gujars, whether they are Muslims, whether they are Christians, and that will be the true definition of coexistence and living and caring and sharing.
Well, on this same topic of what needs to be done and the return of Kashmiri Pandits, I know lots of NRIs are coming back to India. In fact, one senior government official mentioned to me uh, real stuff. She mentioned to me that we need to have all these NRIs return to fix all the systems here, which there will be a great contributing force outside, as we could see from the CEOs of all the top companies, who are all the people. So she was telling from that point of view that we could fix many things if NRIs return and take up positions. I think situation is conducive for people to return and live here. But when it comes to Kashmiri Pandits, I don't know whether that's the same status. People, when they want to come and settle in Bangalore, same roots. You talked about the roots. They would like to settle in Bangalore, or they want to settle in Hyderabad or in Chennai or Delhi. Situation becomes difficult when it comes to Kashmiri Pandits. If they want to return, where will they return? Where will they go? There's no point in coming and settling down in Bangalore all the way. You would like to go back to your roots, correct? So, how is that addressed? I'm sure that is the intent of Kashmiri Pandits. Like you mentioned earlier, it is not a secluded area, but within the conditions prevailing, acceptable to everybody. Would that be the thinking?
Yes, yes. You know, the whole community. in the back of their mind is distressed on this front. And we do fear about our extinction in next some decades, in immediate future actually. And on a positive note, after our forced exodus and genocide, our organizations have played a very phenomenal and outstanding roles in preservation of culture and heritage. And they have been able to create the Kashmir way of life in wherever they are. Somebody was in Bhopal, somebody was in Jaipur, is in Mumbai. So has been a lot of emphasis on culture and civilization, to maintaining and preserving the heritage and culture. And lots of innovative things are coming, especially now because of technology. Like I can give you an example. Just pretty recently, about a few months ago, a team of very accomplished people who have IT background came together and created a platform for the community by name of Equat. And basically, through that platform, they want to create a repository of our culture and heritage and civilization just in the palm of your hand, whether it's language, whether it is cuisines, whether it is our way of life, of our way of doing puja, to maintain it. So a lot of efforts are being done by the community members all around the globe, because that is creating a big distress amongst ourselves about what next. So on that front, community is doing what it can do, but staying outside its roots is putting a significant challenge and impediments to rebuild that civilization, because no matter what, no IT, no app will be a substitute for a physical place, physical root. Now, uh, other things are happening on the community side about Shaivism. Shaivism is really a very big asset that has come out from Kashmir. And there are many members, and especially Kazi ji, Virender Kazi ji, who is spearheading and doing a lot of things to preserve about Shaivism. So a lot of things and efforts are happening from the community, but it needs a huge support from the governments, which is lacking, unfortunately. And there are some steps and limitations to us as well. But we continue to do work on that aspect. And now with Indian diaspora, that is working. That is showing better results.
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned about
I don't know.
Kashmiri Saivism. I could see a comment by Virender Kazi here. Dr. Surinder Kaul is giving very balanced suggestions. These will contribute to real approach to help the mission. There are so many comments I could see, and I think that will be a long session. What you covered so far is very interesting, and I can't believe that we've covered more than 1 hour now, I think, since we started. If there are any other questions we have, Kashmiri, I see Venkat Raman Raja. Kashmiri Pandits are in scattered groups, and if under single umbrella comes, you will have a command to talk and ask for rehabilitation. I see one comment there.
No, that's not true. Actually, there is complete unanimity. We do have, I mean, say, everybody is very cohesive, and this has been put in that we are not united, and we should have one voice, one this thing. But there is a consensus about the return plan. There is no doubt about it, and just wanted to clarify that.
Another interesting comment I see from Prashant Anantaraman. It is just about time for rest of India to learn what we did not learn about Kashmir, other than the movie Raja in True Spirit. So,
That's true. That's true. That is actually going to be helpful. What happened is that, you know, it also destroyed our confidence because once we saw what happened with us, and initial years, no support was coming, nobody knew about what was happening, what happened there. They were thinking that this is some section of the community there. In India, there is a small conflict there. That's how it got uh, kept under the rug. So, but I think, yes, everybody has to contribute. Kashmir is not only a problem of Kashmiri Pandits, Kashmiri Hindus. Kashmir is a problem for all Indians, and every Indian has a stake, and they need to stand up, not to settle scores with. So this is a fight about separatism and terrorism. Leaving aside, even though there is a religious angle in it, but leaving that aside, we need to take on these radicalized elements head on. Otherwise, this will become a way of life, which has already become there. So Indians have all the same stakes, same rights as we have, and it should not be taken as a specific problem of Kashmiri Hindus. So that is where we are trying to create that barriers and want everybody to move together and remove any obstructions that come forward.
good doctor, this is a very important discussion we had today. We wanted to just highlight the issues while we are talking about the history and the culture and what happened like 1,000 years ago. We want to just talk about the current scenario. And your insights have been very helpful. And we are learning quite a lot. And we are booked up to December 25th. And we are planning to continue next year. And maybe we should get Agnihotri in our forum to talk about his experience. I'm sure he'd have learned quite a lot and share his views. We would like
Yes,
to
he
get.
is one of the who knows Kashmir in and out, and he has studied, and especially because of the movie, he he's very with all this research. I think he has a lot of more information about Kashmir, especially from spiritual point of view, from civilizational point of view. Definitely, it will be enriching, and I will convey it to him for sure.
Sure. I'll stay in touch with him and then see if he could appear sometime early next year as we continue. It is a wish of Kanjimat that we don't stop this forum and see if we could take it to 2022 as well. And I'm in touch with lots of Kashmiri Panditjis who are very interested to appear in our forum. And obviously, we'll also be in touch with you to hear from overseas Kashmiri citizens. And once again, thank you, Doctor, for your time very early in the morning and sharing your views, which are very helpful. I'm sure people are listening. If not now, they will tune in later on. And I'm also you've sent. I'm sure you have sent messages to the concerned people today. What
Yes.
needs to be done, and we will continue the same spirit in the next few months. Once again, thank you again,
Thank you, Shankarji. Thanks
and
for giving
thank.
this opportunity, and we are really again thankful to Kachimat and especially the blessings of His Holiness. And we are sure that we'll continue to have them in abundance.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. We'll be in touch. Once again,
Namaste.
I Namaste and Jai Jai Shankara. Hara Hara Shankara. We want to thank Kamakodi TV and the Kanchi Mutt Facebook and YouTube channels, and not to forget VDSP for the streaming activity behind the studio. We will see you again next Saturday, and we will be in touch with you. And please, if you are not subscribed, go and subscribe to our channel so that you will get automatic updates as we plan to continue this forum into 2022. Thank you very much.